Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, we're drinking bourbon. All right, Ben, bring it on in.
All right, we have, bam. This is Horse Soldier small batch bourbon.
So this is one of those experimental ones where we don't know a lot about it. Now, on the internet, we've learned that this is a group of guys who were formerly military, Green Berets, bounced around Afghanistan. I may have ridden around on a helicopter with one of them at some point.
Maybe.
And so anyway, they came back to the States and formed a distillery called American Freedom Distillery, I think it is, in Columbus, Ohio. Started up a bourbon. This is the small batch version, 95 proof.
Okay.
We know nothing about the bourbon itself, whether they're doing it themselves or...
Let's see, handmade and bottled by American Freedom Distillery in Columbus, Ohio. So I guess...
Seems like they're doing it themselves.
Yeah, this seems like it might be their own distillate. There's some information in the back. I'm not gonna read the whole thing because that might get a little long-winded on the show here. It doesn't say straight bourbon, so it could be under 2 years.
Okay. So,
Could be.
ooh, that was a nice one.
Nice cork pop.
Yep.
Cool bottle.
Cool bottle.
Great logo.
Great logo. It's an actual metal foil stamped that's put on the front.
It looks in the bottle like it's got a little color to it. I can't really tell. Sometimes the lights, you hold it up to the light and it's actually too bright to tell if it's got, what kind of color it has to it. So this could be, it doesn't say straight bourbon, so it doesn't have that minimum 2 year or minimum 4 year non-age stated.
Yeah.
So.
Small batch, which we don't know what that means.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what it means to them.
Well, yeah.
Doesn't really have much of a meaning.
Not officially.
Legitimately.
Yeah.
No legal ramifications there.
Yep. But recently we've tried out a number of small distilleries. And I think that our experience recently has been pretty good with small.
Yeah, we've had a couple of good ones. Yeah.
And I've always contend that you learn more from not necessarily a bad bourbon, but a younger bourbon. You try to figure out, okay, what's making this bourbon good? And maybe what's making this bourbon, not quite there yet.
Sure.
So.
All right. The nose, it's a little grain forward, so it's probably got some youth to it.
Yeah, I'm getting toffee notes though.
Yeah, a little toffee, a little caramel. I mean, it's got that kind of some classic bourbon notes.
Haha, hey.
To it.
Yep.
Not overwhelming at 95 proof, but it's got some flavor on the nose.
Yep, a little bit of char. Based on the color, I'm having a hard time figuring out, because the glass looks kind of light. I did a small pour, I acknowledge.
Yeah,
but
I think the wider, I'm looking at it this way, and it's a wider bottle, so it makes it look darker, and then the bar top is black, so.
It feels like maybe this was in a less than number 4 char.
Could be.
And maybe not for a super long time.
All right, let's go in for it here. Ooh, that's got more to it than I was expecting.
Wow, and a lot of kick, a lot of, I wonder if it's a little bit higher rye on the mash bill, because there's a kick, there's barrel spice, there's a sweetness from young corn, which my guess is this is fairly young as far as in the barrel. But it doesn't... It's
got a little barrel to it though.
It does.
There's definitely some oak to it on the palate. Maybe not so much on the nose.
Right.
But on the palate for sure there's a little bit of oak spice there. That's interesting. On the nose it kind of just reminds me of a lot of other craft bourbons.
Yep.
Where it's just kind of, like we said, it's kind of youthful, got that grain forward note, backed up by some of those candy sort of notes like the caramel and the toffee and a little bit of vanilla.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a nice little kick to it, nice little spice to it.
So I get initially the first flavor is a super pointy sweetness. Then it really dries out. Like wood tannins really kick in. Yeah. And it becomes a really nice smooth finish with peppery kind of spice.
Yeah.
It's a nice experience.
There's not, like, I'm not fighting anything about this.
Right,
There's nothing unpleasant about it or off-putting.
Right.
Which sometimes you do have that.
Oh, definitely.
You know, with maybe some stuff that's not aged quite enough, but I mean, kudos to these guys for what appears to be their own distillate.
I think so.
Because it says it's, you know, handmade and bottled, so.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times craft distilleries, we talked about that, if they want to put their own distillate out, it's kind of hard to wait even 4 years for a smaller company.
Yeah.
So you start putting them out at 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And sometimes you're not always given your bourbon a fair fighting chance when you do that. But I mean, I get that, you know, you kind of have to.
Yeah. It's really turned into a butterscotch note. Almost like butterscotch candies.
There's that nice spice again.
It's not cinnamon.
No, it's like, I think I'm getting more of an oak spice from it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, you know.
Probably younger, but it's got a really nice balance to it.
Yeah, it does. It's a little different than your just traditional, like a Evan Williams or something like that.
Totally.
But yeah, it's, like I said, there's nothing offensive about this at all. I'm pretty impressed with this, like I said, considering it's their own distillate and their own
I agree.
thing. Yeah, this is one of those ones that especially, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah,
because if this is their, you know, I think if it was aged a certain amount, they would put that on the label, especially being a craft.
Yep.
Which I don't know how craft they are. I don't know what any of their other products are. But craft meaning they're not one of the big main.
Yep, they're not Jim Beam.
Yeah, exactly. And so just seeing, you know, if this is kind of a starting point, you know,
so
where is this going to go?
So they have a bourbon, they have the small batch, and then they have their reserve.
Okay.
And I don't know the details about the others. But my guess is in a couple of years, hopefully they can get one with the age statement and be in the barrel a little bit longer. And I think it could be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
The one downside, and I wouldn't even call it a downside, is it's $60 for 95 proof. It is kind of a cool story, great looking bottle, but
that's, you know, I feel like that's another thing that craft distilleries have to struggle with.
Totally.
Is they are putting out their stuff earlier.
Yep.
But they need to get their money's worth out of it. I mean, going into the whiskey business, it's a horrible business plan if you look at it. I mean, it really, really is. And if you're not going to be sourcing
capital expense and no revenue for years.
Yeah, for years.
Yeah.
You know, and then by the time you put your product out there, you have to get that back. So that's the one area where I kind of feel bad for craft distilleries, especially ones that are releasing their own product.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's a lot to contend with. And I
agree.
I don't know how people do it. It's such a complicated business, it seems.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, kudos to these guys. Good job. I would say well done on this one.
I actually really, really like it. It's got a nice balance now that I've had a decent pour. It's come across really well.
Yeah, there was no part of that experience that I was just like, I just kind of want this to be over with, or, you know, let's move on to the next one.
But it's still a little bit unique. Like if, you know, if we were doing a flight, you know, this would be the one that we'd be talking about because it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And it definitely sticks out. Like I said, it's not like you know, like one of your standard bourbons. It does kind of have that craft taste to it.
Yep.
A little bit. But I think definitely much better than a lot of other ones I've had for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, I would say this is, I mean, you got to decide for yourself on the price point, but flavor-wise, yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it. Anything else on this one?
I liked it.
All right. Well, this has been Horse and Soldier on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben.
I'm Greg. Cheers.